I'm 79 years old, and I need to tell you something that nearly destroyed me. Being kind doesn't mean erasing yourself. For 70 years, I thought it did. My name is Ellen Walsh. I'm 79 years old, and 3 months ago, I sat in my doctor's office while she told me my blood pressure was dangerously high, my cortisol levels suggested chronic stress, and my body was essentially eating itself from the inside out. She asked me a simple question. Ellen, when was the last time you did something just for yourself? I couldn't answer her. Not because I couldn't remember, but because in that moment, sitting in that sterile examination room with its fluorescent lights humming overhead, I realized I had spent nearly 8 decades confusing kindness with the complete obliteration of my own needs, wants, and boundaries. I thought that's what good people did. Let me take you back. Let me show you how a girl who just wanted to be loved turned into a woman who didn't know how to say no without feeling like a monster. I was born in 1946, right after the war. My mother was what they called a saint back then. She never said no to anyone. Never. The church needed help? She was there. A neighbor needed childcare? Our door was open. My father needed dinner on the table at exactly 6 o'clock even after she'd worked all day. It was there, hot and perfect. I watched her fade, year by year, like a photograph left in the sun. But everyone loved her. Everyone said she was the kindest woman they'd ever met. At her funeral when I was 23, person after person stood up and talked about her generosity, her selflessness, her endless giving. Nobody mentioned that she died at 52. Nobody mentioned the exhaustion in her eyes, or the way her hands shook by the end of each day, or how she'd stopped laughing somewhere around her 40th birthday. I stood there at her funeral and made a promise. I would be just like her. I would be kind. I would be loved. God help me, I kept that promise. When I was 25, I married Robert. Good man. Steady job. Wanted a wife who would take care of him the way his mother had taken care of his father. I said yes to everything. Yes, I'll quit my job at the library even though I loved it. Yes, I'll move 3 states away from my sister even though she's my best friend. Yes, I'll host your entire family every Sunday even though I'm exhausted. I said yes because I thought that's what love looked like. By the time I was 35, I had 3 children. Beautiful children. Emma, Sarah, and Thomas. I loved them more than my own life. Which is exactly the problem. I love them more than my own life. I gave them everything, every minute, every ounce of energy. Every dream I'd ever had for myself got folded up and tucked away in some drawer in my mind labeled someday. Emma wanted ballet lessons on Tuesday and Thursday nights. Yes. Sarah needed help with her science project that required 3 trips to the craft store. Yes. Thomas made the travel soccer team that practiced 45 minutes away 4 times a week? Yes. Robert needed me to entertain his business colleagues every Friday night? Yes. The PTA needed a volunteer coordinator? Yes. My neighbor needed someone to watch her kids every Wednesday afternoon? Yes. My mother-in-law needed me to drive her to appointments twice a week? Yes. 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 I was 43 when I realized I couldn't remember the last book I'd read for pleasure. I was standing in the grocery store, and I saw a woman about my age sitting in the cafe section with a paperback novel and a cup of coffee, and I actually felt jealous. Jealous of 30 minutes of reading. I remember thinking, that's selfish. She should be home making dinner. Then I thought, wait, what am I making dinner from? Oh, right. I'm here buying groceries. I laughed at myself and kept shopping. I had people depending on me. I didn't have time to sit and read. Here's what nobody tells you about saying yes to everything. You don't just lose yourself gradually. You lose yourself so completely that you forget you were ever there to begin with. When I was 47, my sister called me. Lisa. She'd moved to Santa Fe years ago, and she called to tell me she'd been diagnosed with breast cancer. She asked if I could come stay with her for a few weeks during her treatment. She said, Maggie, I need you. I'm scared. I wanted to go. God, I wanted to go. I'd seen her maybe twice a year for the past 20 years. I missed her so much it physically hurt sometimes. But Robert had a big project at work. Emma was applying to colleges and needed help. Sarah was going through a rough patch with her boyfriend. Thomas had a championship tournament. I can't right now, I told Lisa. Maybe in a few months when things settle down. Things never settled down. Lisa went through treatment alone. Her neighbor, a woman she'd known for 3 years, drove her to chemotherapy. Not me. Her sister. The one who'd braided her hair when we were kids. The one who'd held her hand during our mother's funeral. The one who was supposed to be there. She survived the cancer. But something between us died anyway. I told myself it was okay. I'd made the responsible choice. My family needed me. I was being kind to them. I was 52 when my daughter Emma got engaged. She was living in Boston, planning her wedding, and she asked me to come up for a long weekend to help her look at venues and try on dresses. I almost said yes. I had my suitcase half packed. Then Robert mentioned he'd invited his college buddies and their wives for the weekend. You don't mind, right? He said. You're so good at entertaining. Sarah called. She'd just broken up with her boyfriend and needed me. Thomas's wife was having a hard time postpartum. Could I come stay with them for a week or 2? I called Emma back. Honey, I can't make it, but we can FaceTime while you try on dresses, okay? There was a long pause on the phone. Then Emma said, very quietly, it's okay, Mom. I understand. I'll ask Rebecca's mom. Rebecca was her best friend. I told myself it was fine. Emma would have other chances to try on dresses. Robert's friends hadn't visited in years. Sarah really did need me. Thomas's wife needed help with the baby. But here's the truth I couldn't see then. Every single one of those people would have survived without me. Robert's friends could have stayed in a hotel. Sarah could have called a therapist. Thomas could have hired a postpartum doula. But Emma only had one mother. And I chose everyone else's once over my daughter's needs because somewhere along the way, I'd learned that my presence only mattered when someone else's comfort was at stake. I was 59 when Robert retired. He worked for 40 years, and he deserved to relax. I understood that. But relaxing for Robert meant I was now available 24/7 to cater to his retirement hobbies. Golf outings where I'd make snacks and drive him to the course. Fishing trips where I'd pack everything and meet his friends' expectations. Home renovation projects where I did all the research and planning while he did the fun building parts. When I woke up, Robert asked what was for dinner. I made dinner. I was 73 when Emma called me, crying. Her 15-year-old daughter, my granddaughter, Julia, had told her, I don't want to be like Grandma. She never does anything for herself. She's just there for everyone else. That's sad. Emma said, Mom, I defended you. But then I thought about it, and I realized, Julia's right. When was the last time you did something you actually wanted to do? When was the last time you said no to any of us? I couldn't answer. Emma said, Mom, we've been using you. I've been using you. And I'm ashamed of myself, but I'm also ashamed of you for letting us. That last part hit me like a punch to the chest. What are you talking about? I said, I'm being kind. I'm being helpful. You're being a doormat, Emma said. And you taught me to be one too. Do you know I can't say no to anyone at work? Do you know I'm in therapy because I have panic attacks from being so overwhelmed? I learned it from watching you. I hung up on her. I was so angry. How dare she? After everything I'd done for her? After all the sacrifices I'd made? But that night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed next to Robert, who was snoring peacefully, like he always did, and I thought about what Emma had said. I thought about my mother, dead at 52. I thought about Lisa, going through cancer alone. I thought about Julia, my granddaughter, who saw my life and thought, that's sad. I thought about the library job I'd quit in 1971. I thought about the book club I'd said no to in 1989 because Robert wanted dinner at 6. I thought about the pottery class I'd been interested in 2003, but never signed up for because Sarah needed help moving. I thought about the Mediterranean cruise Lisa had invited me on in 2011 that I declined because Thomas was having marital problems and might need me. I was 73 years old, and I couldn't name a single thing I'd done in the past 50 years purely because I wanted to. Not one thing. The next morning, I woke up and my hands were shaking. My heart was racing. I thought I was having a heart attack. Robert drove me to the emergency room. Panic attack, they said. Severe anxiety. That was the first time I'd ever had one. It wasn't the last. I started having them regularly, in the grocery store, at church, at Emma's house while watching the grandkids. My body was staging a rebellion against a lifetime of self-abandonment. That's when my doctor started asking questions. Really asking. Not just about my blood pressure and my medications, but about my life, about my days, about what I did for myself. And that's when I had to face it. I'd spent 73 years confusing kindness with self-erasure. I'd thought that being a good person meant never having needs. I'd thought that being loving meant never saying no. I'd thought that being kind meant making myself small enough that I never inconvenienced anyone. I was wrong about everything. Here's what changed. Here's what I've learned in these last 6 years. And let me tell you, learning this at 73 is a special kind of torture because you can see exactly how many years you wasted. I started saying no. Small at first. So small it felt ridiculous to be scared of it. Robert asked me to drive him to a golf outing on a Wednesday morning. I had a doctor's appointment for my anxiety medication. I can't, I said. I have an appointment. Can't you reschedule? He asked. My heart was pounding. My palms were sweating. But I said no. You can drive yourself or ask one of your golf buddies for a ride. He stared at me like I'd grown a second head. But he drove himself. And nothing terrible happened. Emma called and asked if I could watch the kids on Thursday. I had signed up for a watercolor class at the community center. The first class I'd signed up for in over 40 years. I can't, I said. I have plans. What plans? She asked. I almost lied. I almost said a doctor's appointment because that felt more legitimate. But I didn't. I'm taking a watercolor class, I said. There was a long pause. Then Emma said, Good. Good for you, Mom. Sarah asked me to help her reorganize her entire house over a weekend. I'd just committed to reading a whole novel, start to finish, because I wanted to. I can't this weekend, I said, but I could help you for a few hours next Saturday afternoon if you still need it then. She said, That's okay. I'll figure it out. And she did. She figured it out. Just like everyone always figured it out when I wasn't there. Here's what nobody tells you. People are more capable than you think. When you stop doing everything for them, they learn to do things for themselves. It's not mean. It's not unkind. It's actually respectful. It says, I believe you can handle this. But here's the other thing nobody tells you. Changing this pattern is terrifying. Every time I said no, I felt guilty. Every single time. I'd lie awake at night wondering if I was being selfish, if I was becoming one of those me first people who didn't care about anyone else. My therapist, yes, I finally started seeing a therapist at 74 years old. She told me something I'll never forget. She said, Ellen, there's a difference between being kind and being available. Kindness is about genuine care and compassion. Availability is about logistics. You've confused the two. You think if you're not constantly available, you're not kind. But the truth is, you can be deeply kind to someone and still have boundaries. In fact, the kindest thing you can do is model healthy boundaries so the people you love learn them too. That shifted something in me. I started asking myself, am I saying yes because I genuinely want to help and have the capacity to help? Or am I saying yes because I'm terrified of being disliked? Most of the time, it was the latter. I joined that watercolor class. I'm not good at it, but I love it. Every Tuesday morning, I sit in a room with 8 other people and we paint. Sometimes we chat. Sometimes we sit in comfortable silence. I've made friends, real friends who know me as Ellen the person, not Ellen the helper. I started reading again. Real books. Fiction. I read before bed now instead of watching whatever Robert has on TV. He complained at first, said I was being antisocial. I bought him headphones. I am happier, but I'm also heartbroken because I'm 79 years old. I have maybe 10 good years left if I'm lucky. Maybe 15 if I'm very lucky and my health holds out. And I spent 73 years being afraid to take up space. Do you know how many books I could have read in 73 years? How many classes I could have taken? How many trips I could have gone on with Lisa? How many hobbies I could have explored? How many friendships I could have deepened? Do you know how many times I could have said, I'd love to help, but I need to take care of myself first and watched everyone survive just fine? I can't get those years back. My mother died at 52 without ever knowing who she was underneath all that service. I'm luckier than her. I got to wake up, but I still lost 7 decades to a lie. The lie that kindness means self-abandonment. The lie that love means having no boundaries. The lie that being good means never saying no. Here's what I do now. When someone asks something of me, I pause. I don't answer immediately. I say, let me check my calendar and get back to you. Then I ask myself 3 questions. Do I have the actual time and energy to do this well? Am I saying yes because I want to, or because I'm afraid of what happens if I say no? If I say yes to this, what am I saying no to? Because every yes is a no to something else, often to yourself. If the answers are no, I don't have the capacity, yes, I'm afraid, and yes, I'm saying no to my own needs, then I say no. I say it kindly. I say it clearly. But I say it. I can't help you move this weekend, but I can come over Thursday evening for 2 hours if that helps. I can't babysit regularly, but I'd love to have the grandkids one Saturday a month for a special day together. I can't take on that project at work, but I can recommend someone who'd be great at it. I need this evening to myself to recharge, but let's plan lunch this weekend. Sometimes people get upset. Sometimes they push back. Sometimes they tell you you're being selfish. Let them. Their discomfort with your boundaries is not your emergency. You know what else? Some people will surprise you. Some people will say, thank you for being honest. I didn't realize I was asking too much. Some people will adjust. Some relationships will actually get stronger because they're built on honesty instead of resentment. And some people will leave your life. The ones who only wanted you for what you could do for them. The ones who saw you as a resource, not a person. Let them go. It hurts, but it's better than spending your whole life with people who don't actually see you. Here's the hard truth. You teach people how to treat you. If you never say no, you teach them that you're always available. If you sacrifice yourself constantly, you teach them that your needs don't exist. If you never prioritize yourself, you teach them that you're not a priority. Is that what you want to teach the people you love? I look at my granddaughter Julia now, and I'm trying to teach her something different. I'm trying to show her that women can be kind and have boundaries, that women can be loving and still have lives of their own. That caring for others doesn't mean destroying yourself. That person is worth fighting for. That person is worth saying no for. That person is worth taking up space for. I'm 79 years old. My time is running out. I can't get back the years I lost. But you can. Your time isn't running out yet. You still have decades to build a life that's actually yours. Don't waste them the way I did. Be kind. Be loving. Be helpful. But for God's sake, be yourself too. The world will adjust. The people who love you will understand. And the ones who don't, well, they were never really seeing you anyway. I'm not asking you to be perfect at this. I'm still not perfect at it. I still feel guilty sometimes when I say no. I still worry that I'm being selfish. But then I look at Julia. And I look at my life, this small, precious life I finally built for myself. And I remember, I'm not being selfish. I'm finally being honest. And honestly, that's the kindest thing I've ever done. For myself. For my family. For every woman who's watching me to see what's possible. If this resonates with you, if you see yourself in my story, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. Leave a comment and tell me what you're going to say no to this week. Tell me what you're going to say yes to for yourself. We don't have to waste our lives the way I wasted mine. We can choose differently, starting right now.